All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a screen share so we can get into this. And we got plenty of time. So let me share my screen first, and then I'll give you the background, this activity that we're all going to go through. And so this is a workshop. So we're gonna do a little bit of work. So hopefully you all aren't afraid of doing a little bit of work on a Saturday morning. But this activity is something that it was a necessity. And I hope, again, you come to this with an open mind. And so it's a quick, in your face. It's going to maybe disturb you. It's maybe going to, you might be a little afraid as we're going through the activity, but that's the whole point, is to figure out what's bothering us as it relates to our financial plan. And so that's where this whole 15-minute plan activity really comes from. So I'll kind of, my mission, the Build Wealth Movement is my company. And as we're kind of talking about in the first session, is changing the way you think and feel about money. And I know that if we do both of those things, something's going to happen, or something should happen, that's going to help you to kind of move past whatever it is that's holding you back from achieving your financial goals and dreams and financial peace of mind. Everybody says they want to be comfortable. I'm like, quantify that for me, because that's usually a number. So we have to address the thought and this mindset, which we talked about a ton in the first session, but it's also these feelings and emotions that come with money. So I tell people all the time, I'm very emotional as a guy, but when it comes to money and business, nah, I'm not really emotional. It's business. It's we got to get this done. I got to make these moves. I have to make these adjustments or alterations to my strategy. And so it's these feelings that also kind of hold us back in terms of why we do what we do or why we don't do certain things. And really quickly, again, we're gonna go through this 15-minute plan. I'm just gonna open it up, and this activity, it's really like a rapid fire type of thing. And we got plenty of time to kind of have a discussion. And what I'll do is I'll kind of go through the activity with you. And so if you have something to write with, you're gonna need to take notes. This is for you. This is the financial plan that you may not have done yet. This is the financial plan you've been working on, but maybe there's like, ooh, I didn't think about that. So this whole idea came about when I served as a financial advisor inside of a bank. And I know people aren't physically going to the bank as much as they used to, but everybody would try to just avoid me. Oh, I don't have enough time. So it was always the time factor. I'm too busy. I don't have time to talk to you today. I'll come back. They never come back. You know, it's the person who says I'm always busy. And I'm like, busy building wealth or building wealth for somebody else? So I always got hit with the I'm too busy. I said, okay, that's a problem. What else? What I was like, and this applies to everybody. Like, this isn't a black, white, Asian, Hispanic. This is across the board. Always get the I'm too busy. That's the first thing. Second piece was, I don't understand why I really need a financial plan. And I was like, interesting. Somebody on here has planned a very nice vacation. And I know you've gone to like the ends of the earth to plan where you're going, how you're getting there, what clothes you're going to take, you know, what excursions you're going to do. So I know you can plan for vacations. So I was like, all right, they don't understand the planning part. Okay, got it. And then the third thing was, I don't know why I need you. And you meaning a financial expert. I don't know why I need you to help me out. Well, I kind of do this all day long. You have a job and then you moonlight as your own advisor. Wouldn't recommend that if you're trying to really build wealth. Like, I don't think, I always love even Jeff Bezos. I mean, Amazon is just killing the game across the board. Do y'all think he does all this stuff by himself? I mean, if you do, have at it. But I don't think he has time as a billionaire to really kind of do it all on his own. But we as individuals continue to think that, well, I'm smart enough, I have enough education, I have a great paying job, like I can figure this out. And you definitely can. But you shouldn't be doing this by yourself. Like, I don't do it by myself. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in this session. So the time thing really kind of got to me, hence why it's called the 15-minute plan, because there are 8,766 hours in a year. And so my question to you is, how much time do you spend every year working on your financial plan? That's the question I just kept asking people. Again, you don't have time, you're too busy, but could I maybe steal you for 15 minutes? And just so you all know, if anybody really wants to like watch the clock, this activity never takes 15 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the 15-minute questions. I'll pop out for a second, get some initial feedback from it, and then I'll walk you back through the rationale as to why I asked the questions and the order. So it's I was very mindful of how I wanted to structure this. And since we have this timer in the room, I'm going to talk for another like 16 seconds. So if anybody really wants to watch the clock to see how long this takes, be my guest, because I'm going to start right when it hits the 41:00. And you can just watch how quickly this will get done, because then you can't say, I'm too busy. So in 3, 2, 1, let's get to it. So I want everybody to write down your top 3 financial goals or concerns. Top 3. We've all got maybe 10 or 20, but I just want the top 3. You know, these are the 3 things that are keeping you up at night from a financial perspective. Or maybe it's that goal or dream. Again, you dream about it, but you know, is that number 1? Is that number 2? Is that number 3? So I just want you to jot down your top 3 financial goals or concerns. All right. Second question, it's a 2-parter. Do you know what a balance sheet is used for? Yes or no? And have you ever completed one? Yes or no?
All the time.
All right. Next, the budget. All right, so I'll give you 3 options here. You can, you know, write a smiley face, sad face, or the in-between face. Do you do a budget? You tell me. This is your plan. This isn't for me. So do you do one? Do you try to do one? Or do you just flat out, nah, I just know I make enough money. I'll figure it out. I'm okay right now. So you be the judge on your budgeting prowess. Next is credit. I get my free credit report each year from each of the 3 credit bureaus. That is the law that we all are entitled to, getting that free report. COVID's kind of mixed this up a little bit, but I'm gonna keep this question as is, because when we go back to normal, they may change. But before the pandemic, were you checking your credit at least every 12 months from all 3 of the bureaus? And if you have been doing this and you know this to be the law, smiley face. If you haven't and didn't know it and you were not checking, sad face. All right, somebody's probably already cringing. I just need you to write approximately how much do you owe. These are the big 5, I would say. Ballpark the number. You owe about how much in all these different categories. If there is a debt that I have missed that you have, feel free to write it on your own notes page. So again, if these are estimates, right? I think I owe about. So you want to jot these down. Again, just jot them down. You know about how much you owe. So I want you to just take a little moment here and fill out these 5. And again, if there's a debt that's not listed, feel free to add that to your notes page. And again, not looking for precise numbers here, but I think we all know about how much we owe on these items. All right. So you have three columns here. You have ST, IT, and LT. And so if you're writing this on your notes, leave yourself a little bit of space. So this is where do I have my money and how does it relate to a specific goal? So the short term that's the ST. That's for 1 year or less. IT is intermediate term. That's 1 to 5 years. LT is long term, 5 years plus. All right, so short term, intermediate, long term. Now, under the short term, I want you to list, I do not want you to write the dollar amount, but list out anything you have at a bank or credit union or in your mattress, in your safe, in your shoebox, the little envelope behind the art on the wall. Like, this is just money you can get your hands on. if it's at a bank or a credit union and it's I'll say a non-retirement account. So your savings, checking, just you're taking inventory here. So if you want to just jot down all the accounts you have, so it might be, hey, I have checking and savings at this bank, I have a savings at this credit union, I have a CD here, I got some mattress money. You just want to take inventory. I don't care about the number, but I do want you to know what money you have applied or available for these short-term needs or goals. And you just want to make that list. All right. I'm going to skip over to the LT. I'll come back to IT. So long-term, most people think about retirement. So are there any retirement plans you have through your employer, any that you have on your own? You know, is it real estate? Is it a business? Like whatever you have right now that you're working on that is geared for the long term, I want you to jot it down. Again, if we're talking real estate, I don't need you to have the appraisal of the value if you don't know it. Again, you're just taking inventory here to see, what do I have that's geared towards the long term? And you just make that list. I have this many accounts. I got an old 401k here, got an IRA there, about to invest in this business that's going to, you know, help me in retirement, whatever it might be. You just make that list. And then intermediate. So what do I have that's not at the bank, that's not necessarily geared towards, like, I'll just say retirement or the long term? What account do you have that's geared towards that kind of 1 to 5 year time frame? And again, you're just making that list. No dollar amounts needed here, but you're just making a list, or essentially you're taking inventory of all of your different accounts. All right. So next is goals. You have to write a number. And this is, what are you committing to on a monthly basis for savings? And if it's not a specific dollar amount, and let's say you're an entrepreneur or you have a variable type of income, you can also write a percentage. But I need you to make a commitment to yourself about what are you saving every month. And then below that, you see investing. And when I mean investing, you can't count the retirement account through your job. That gets taken care of before you get your paycheck. So this is you doing something else on the investing front. So if you have a retirement account that's not connected to your job, you can count that in that monthly investing goal. Or are you investing in stocks or cryptocurrency, or I don't know, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, whatever it might be? Do you have a monthly commitment? Every single month you commit to saving and investing. And you should write that number down. Life insurance. Two-parter. How much do you personally own? If you don't know, that's okay. If you don't have any, we need to talk. And then how much do you have at your job? Two simple questions around life insurance. And I'm gonna double up. So disability income insurance, same two questions. How much do I personally own? How much do I have at the job? All right. So if you're a parent, what do you have saved for the kids' education? So I list 6 different types of accounts here. You can kind of just write them down, or if this was an actual workshop, I would have the people kind of just circle the ones you have. So is it a bank account, a 529 plan, the UTMA, UGMA, those are custodial accounts. So those are just investment accounts on behalf of the child. You know, are you using real estate to fund the education? Personal donor, anybody who's not a parent. You're a personal donor to this kid and their future education. And then life insurance, a phenomenal tool that people also use for college planning. So these are kind of the big 6. So do you have some combination that you're utilizing as a parent, or maybe you don't have anything just yet? But again, this is, you know, student loans just are killing people. And I had to add this. And if you're not a parent, this is like the question you should be sharing with your friends who have children. But just make a note of what you have, not looking for dollar amounts. Just, do you have something geared towards the college education? So a 2-part question about taxes. Do you do your own? Yes or no? And even if you select no, is your tax person good? And you know, Sometimes your needs may change, and so should your tax professional. But taxes play a big role in everything that we do, and so that's the reason I asked this question. I'm not a tax expert, but again, this is somebody who's very, very important to your overall strategy. And then the last question is around estate planning. So have you ever met with an estate planning attorney to discuss your wills, trusts, and I'll call it end of life planning, yes or no? And then I always ask people, would you like to connect with one in case you haven't? And if this has been on your mind, then we need to have that discussion. And just so I can milk some time, I am not even at 10 minutes, but I'm gonna stop it right there. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. What y'all think? That's it. That was less than 15 minutes. You tell me how you feel. Because I already know somebody's like, as soon as you put up the debt slide, they're like, oh man, I got to list my student loan. I got my mortgage. Oh, got these credit cards. When I do this in person, it's so funny to just watch people's face. Oh, it's classic. The moans and the groans. I know somebody groaned and moaned, but you on mute. So I know it's a different experience. But that is how I'm going to save the world. Like I literally sat around for years and was trying to figure out, I don't think financial planning is that hard. Now mind you, it's my profession. I've studied, I've taken tests. But when I kept talking to people, I was like, they don't have a plan. That's the real problem. They don't have the plan in place. So that was not even 10 minutes. So every time, and somebody's probably used this, oh, I'm too busy to call my friend back who's trying to help me, right? I get it all the time. I still got friends to this day who are like, you know, I need to holler at you. I'm like, when? I've been doing this my whole career, and you still have not had this conversation with me. All right. So let me do this. And I'm gonna wrap it up at the end with this. We'll talk about the money team. And Neka and I had really talked about this a lot during the initial session. But I'm gonna go back to my share again. And now I want to walk you through like the rationale, because this is, I think, where it gets really good. And if you got any thoughts or comments as we're going through, let me know. But let me start back with, let me start here. All right, so let me give you the breakdown. And again, I asked all these questions on purpose in a very particular order. Most people's goals are not in alignment. And here's what I mean. I'll give you the easy example that everybody gives me. I want to get a house. And I'll say, great. Then I'll say, tell me about your credit. Ooh, my credit's a little suspect. House should not be the top goal. That's where it's at. And then after I ask about your credit, I'm gonna say, well, do you have any savings? So again, we're gonna slide a house down the list a little bit. The house you're gonna get. I'm not worried about you getting the house. I just want you to be in the best position financially to get the house. And so what I kept finding is people were telling me, I want to do this. And then I was like, do you think that makes sense in terms of a logical order of like 1, 2, 3, 4? And I got people to kind of pause and really look inside to say, you know what? I think you're right. And I was like, yeah, I don't think you needed me to understand that. But I think when you see it and somebody challenges you in your way of thinking, right? The mindset, you then begin to believe like, I've been going at this all wrong. So that's why I asked this question up front. And any financial advisor should always be asking about like, what are you trying to do? If they just hit you with the sales pitch because they know that you earn enough money to afford whatever product or solution they're offering, run. Every conversation should be, what are you trying to do? And let me see if I can help you. And I have the same approach to any of my prospective clients. I do not work magic, but if you could tell me a little bit more information about what you're trying to do, I will let you know pretty quickly if I can even be of any assistance. Balance sheet. This is a good one. So here's why it's a good one, because people confuse the balance sheet and the budget, and they're two separate documents. And so somebody will always say, oh, I do a balance sheet all the time. I'm like, nah, you shouldn't. A balance sheet is you're capturing your assets, which is what you own, and you capture your liabilities, which is what you owe. And this is how you compute your net worth. So assets minus your liabilities equals your net worth. And this is that I talked about measuring your success. This is what I have all my clients do. Just tell me what you got at this moment in time. Where do you stand? And again, people confuse this with the budget. This is a totally separate document. And I used to think that, well, everybody just knows what these things are, and these are fundamentals in my world. But I realized the average person isn't a business owner, so they may have never come across a balance sheet. So that's why I had to ask this question, because I've had people circle yes, and I'm like, so do you know what it is? And they're like, well, yeah, my budget, my income. I was like, whoa, stop, nope. All you're doing is taking a snapshot of your financial situation in a moment in time. So what I do with my clients, I like doing this every quarter. I treat myself like a publicly traded company. Every 3 months, I do this. So I'll be doing mine again around January 1st through the 3rd. This is one of the, after the quarter ends, I sit down with myself and I have this conversation about, hey, Jasper Smith Incorporated, what have you done in the last 3 months? If it was good, it was good. If it was bad, it was bad. But I don't shy away from knowing where I stand financially. Budgets, you either do it or you don't. I give you that third option because I'm from the South. I'm a nice guy, but you either have a clue or you do not. There is no in between here. But I give you 3 options because I'm just a nice guy. Budgeting is just the greatest tool ever if you use it. It's like a hammer. If you don't pick up a hammer, you can never build that house. You can't hit. You have to understand this is a tool. It's going to help. I know it's a struggle for a lot of people, but are you trying to be financially successful? Because if so, you have to commit to some type of a budgeting strategy. Maybe it's not the way the world has told you, or that the financial guy or gal at that firm told you to do it, but you got to find a budgeting strategy that works for you. Credit. Oh God, we could talk 5 hours about this. Just know what's going on your report. I'm tired of us being the person who goes in and it's the lender saying, oh, we found something. You got to be proactive. And I just want you to focus more on the report as opposed to the score. Because somebody always says, well, Credit Karma is really good. I'm like, Credit Karma gives you 2 out of 3. You're still missing the third piece of the puzzle. So I go to the source. Right now, annualcreditreport.com is the resource where I send everybody to get this free report. But because of COVID, you can actually check on your report every month through April of next year. I think monthly is a little excessive unless you're like really trying to make some moves, but you should be checking up on your reports, which again, the score is based off the report. So go to the report first, take a look to see if everything is in order. Just basic stuff like your name might be spelled wrong. They might have a bad phone number, a bad address. There's and those are common errors on most people's reports. Bad name, bad phone number, bad address. You know, we haven't even got to the, maybe that's not my account. Just, I want your credit report to look clean. And when somebody's making an assessment about your character, you already know what's been written, because a lot of us are reactive. And so somebody's making an assessment about who we are, and we're not there to defend ourselves. And a lot of us, credit is still holding a lot of people back. And I'm talking well-to-do people of all walks of life. I'm like, yo, there's certain, you haven't figured this out yet? Just pay people off. Pay them on time, all the time. But I know that's easier said than done for some people, but your credit is very important. Debt, we got it, deal with it. Just face it. Like, get out of your feelings. You had to go to that school and take out that loan because now you have this high-paying job. You know, you needed that certification, that extra designation. So student loans is a good debt. Don't worry about it. What I worry about is y'all and these credit cards. That's you. That's you not having enough savings or you overspending. It's one of those two. I overspend. The credit cards is what's eating us a lot. Car loan, that's fine. Mortgage, that's fine. Personal loan, maybe you're consolidating some things. Maybe you had, it's the credit cards, y'all. The credit cards. That's what I want people to really focus on. But we got to figure out a strategy on how we're going to attack the debt. And that's why I want you to get comfortable with just saying, hey, I owe this much. Now let me get to work and figure out how I'm going to get past this. So this slide, I literally kind of helped you do your balance sheet if you didn't know what it was. Every account you have should have a job description. Every account. If you have to question why you have an account and you don't know why, I'm gonna ask you that same question. But also I realized too that a lot of people have the short term pretty much down. Everybody understands banks and credit unions. We kind of had that down. Retirement, most of us are doing something because our job provided the benefit. We may not be doing a lot outside of that. But most of the times people are fine on those ends of this spectrum. But right here in the middle, this intermediate, people don't have anything. I'm like, where's that general investment account where you're just buying some stocks, for fun, or you're trying to learn trading, or maybe you're going to flip properties. I keep finding that people don't have that in betweener. So my money is either very safe and making me nothing, or it's very, a little bit more aggressive, but it's locked up until I'm 59 and a half. What do you have in the middle? So I find that probably 70% of the people I meet don't have that in betweener. It's the short term and the long term. Like, so what happens in like 5 years? What are you going to do? But people haven't thought through all the accounts they have because they've never taken inventory. So I try to help guide people to take an inventory by providing these few questions to get you kind of thinking like, I don't have that account yet, or I need to reach out and find something else.
Jasper, we have one or two questions coming through the chat. Do you want to take them now or okay? So I think there's a question from Lauren Merker. Would you like me to read it, Lauren, or you can take yourself off mute so we can get a little interaction here?
Yeah. Hi. I have dealt with credit card debt for a long time, and I noticed you just sort of mentioned that as a sort of population, we don't deal with that well. Do you recommend just not even using credit cards, or just making sure that you pay them off on time?
The latter. I only use credit cards because I have adopted the credit card rewards lifestyle. And so I pay off my bill in full every month. And I'd rather we do that. When you can get to that point, I've had some debt and I was like, I can't do it yet. But at some point, I think credit cards are incredible. I think we can leverage the system to get what we want. I'm from North Carolina. I always need flight points. I ain't going nowhere for the holidays. So all this spending I've been doing all year, I am itching to take a trip because I have points. So I know some of us aren't disciplined enough for this lifestyle yet, but I want to encourage all of us to maybe adopt this lifestyle once you're in the position to do so. But credit cards are phenomenal if you use them effectively.
All right, there's a question from Evelyn. Evelyn, you're on an iPad, so I'm happy to read out the question if it's easier for you.
Sure, no problem. Either way, I'm just more concerned with investing. And when you mentioned the IT there in stocks and how I can use my money right now to get some short-term investments and stocks and so forth.
It's really going to be a matter of the goal, Evelyn. It's one of these where I think people, interest rates have been low for a while. So everybody's always thinking, what else could I be doing right now? And you really just got to explore. I think it's around finding out like what your risk preference is. And also too, do you need the money? So the investing that I do for this kind of intermediate, it's money I know I don't need. I don't need to pay bills, to go on a trip. Like it's kind of in its own separate bucket, which is why I'm big on trying to like strategize with people on, having these different accounts, because all these different accounts have a very unique job description. But if you've never taken inventory, you don't really know. So like, I know I have like 7 bank accounts, but each one of those accounts has a very specific use. Fund bucket, taking Wi-Fi out bucket, emergency fund bucket, something might come up, but like I just started making up stuff. But I have like everything has it has a job description. So you say I need an investment account. Well, are you willing to hold on for something for 5 years? Am I trying to be a trader? Because day trading is a thing, but I don't recommend that for like the novice investor. But I think we all want to earn a little bit more than what the bank or credit unions are paying us, but we don't want to have all of our money locked up in retirement. So I would say be open to exploring different options that could help you make a decision around where you should put your money and for how long do you expect to put it away.
There are a number of other questions, but I think it'll make more sense as you move forward a tiny bit because the topic will align.
Yep. So goals, you got to do this. I don't spend a lot of time here. It's just nobody's making a commitment to themselves, and you have to. They always say pay yourself first or make yourself a line item on your budget, and you should, but you have to make some commitment to yourself every single month. I don't care if it's just $10. Do $10 until you can get to 15. You know, I think we think it has to be this, oh, I got to do $1,000. No, Start where you can, start where you are, and you build up. So not much on the goals thing. You just got to do it. Life insurance, this scares me. The world is underinsured across the board. We rely solely on what we have through the job. That's not probably going to cut it. If you leave the job, you lose the benefit. So I always encourage people to consider looking at life insurance on the outside, if you can, within your budget, to supplement what you have through your employer. When you leave that job, you do not usually leave with that life insurance. Life insurance is about protecting your family. There are a lot of alternate uses. I don't have enough time to kind of go into that, but it's not just about dying. People use this stuff while they are alive, which is why I mentioned that on the college planning thing. And there's some very unique strategies people use this tool. I love saying tool, but at its fundamental like core, I want you to make sure you can leave a legacy, and life insurance is one of the most affordable ways for you to do so. People will tell me, well, I have investments, I have real estate. And I'm like, that's great. And those may appreciate a lot over time, but where will the market be when you actually pass away? Because I don't know that date. Nobody knows, right? But we keep saying, I'll invest my way to get there. Well, what if the market what if we're in a depression? What if we're in a recession? What if all the stocks you had just happened to be in an industry that got hit hard by the pandemic? So let's say you were in the cruise line industry. Oh, you got creamed this year. So I know this insurance will pay out and take care of my family and then some. So I'm not for or against any solution that's going to help you. It's just we haven't learned enough as to why this benefit or this tool is so important to us, which is why we also stay underinsured. And to the same point around disability, there's no law that says we have to have either one of these. We only have car insurance because it's the law. We have homeowners insurance because we have to have it. But for the insurances that we don't have to have, we tend to not have them. If that makes sense to anybody. We don't have to do certain things, and therefore we don't. So for disability, I just want you to like make a little note, call this your paycheck insurance. Because if you're not able to go to work because you're seriously sick or injured, your bills do not stop coming. Like you can't say to your credit card company, hey man, you know, I'm on disability right now. I'm making 60% of my salary. Can you lower my bills 60%? That's not going to happen. So now you can see how this starts to become an issue. If I don't have the savings, and let's say I am out of work, now I'm starting to use my credit cards. Now I'm borrowing from my retirement account to pay my bills. So we don't think about protecting ourselves. You are the most important asset. Your ability to go to work or get up and earn a living, but we don't protect it. This is like, I'll give you one more example on this. This is like you having an ATM in your house and you just letting everybody walk by and take out cash. Like that's what I think about. When I think about protecting my income or my money maker, and you are the money maker, you got to protect it. Talk to a real wealthy person. I guarantee you they have a ton of insurance of all types, right? Because if you want to hold on to your wealth, you have to protect it. I'll leave it at that. Protection is key. Education planning, we got to do more for the kiddies. You know, we got to do more. You know, my kid grew up so fast. We can't keep using this excuse. The kid is here. Let's start working. Let's start working. And it's got to be a multi-pronged approach. I think the bank accounts, we know to do those, but we got to have something that's going to kind of really appreciate over a longer period of time, which is why you need something investment related. You know, my friends who do real estate, like they sell properties and then that cash is used to fund the education, or they have an apartment complex that, you know, they have tenants. And so they use that cash flow to fund an education. You know, I know friends of mine, their kids are on the title of the property. So when the kid grows, they're like, well, you're in school now. What do you want to do with your property? The kid is like, I want the money. Let's sell the property. So you can get very creative. The personal donor, put the village on notice that you need money. Takes a village to raise a child. The village should be putting in money. Tell them to stop buying your kids shoes that they're going to outgrow. The video games that are going to be out of style in a year and a half. I'm not saying you can't give the kids gifts and stuff, but can we do gifts and money?
Yeah, Jasper, there are a number of questions around this area, so it's a good pausing. Tiffany, you had a couple questions there specific, and others I think were interested in that. So can you ask questions?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I want to talk more about UTMA, UGMA. Like, I actually want to buy my nieces and nephews some stock for Christmas. Like, they play Roblox, and Roblox is about to IPO. So, you know, back in the day, white people specifically would like buy their kids stock certificates and like give it to their grandkids. We can't like do stock certificates, so I'm assuming it's like the UTMA way. But it's like, how do you do that if you're not the parent? Is that possible?
Yes.
Like, how do you give stock?
Yeah, you open the account. You're the adult, so there has to be an adult on the account, and so it would be you, Tiffany, for the benefit of like the child, whoever there is. So anybody could open up these accounts. So like for example, my niece has a 529, and I have a nephew now. He's about to get a 529. I opened the account because I'm the uncle, and there's also some benefits to a non-parent from like the 529 standpoint. Where for college funding, it makes more sense for me to be the owner of the account as opposed to my brother or sister-in-law.
Yeah.
The custodial accounts or the UTMAs, UGMAs, anybody can do that for your kid, or anybody can do a 529. So all of you could open up a 529 for my niece and nephew. I would love y'all if you did. Or if you don't want to open it up, just send me money on their behalf. So you can stay in control. Now the custodial accounts, the problem is when the kid becomes the age of majority, which is 18 or 21, depending on what state, it's their money. And so I'm telling you this real life story. I had one of those accounts. When I turned 21, I called the broker. I said, I'm 21. I know the rules. Take my mama off my account. And then I blew all my college money. So you got to protect your kids. So you can do these investments, but just know at a certain age, they don't have to consult with you because this is essentially a trust set up on their behalf. And when they're of age, they can do whatever they will want to do with that money. So just be mindful. You have to maybe figure out how you want to stay in control. So another little backstory for all the parents, or you're looking for creative strategies. My parents did bank accounts. I had a UTMA account, and they took out a life insurance policy. And I know people are like, well, Jasper, you're still alive. Yeah, my parents were hip to the game. So the insurance policy my parents took out on me when I was 6 actually paid for my car, cash money, when I got to college. I'm just giving y'all some real game here. I know people think, well, you didn't die. That wasn't the point. The point was this could be a potential bucket of money that he could use for college on top of whatever scholarships and grants and fellowships you receive. Parents just have to be a lot more creative. And if the parents can't do it, if they're a part of your family, you should just do it. So I just did the 529 for my niece before she was born. And then when she was born and we got our social security number, then I changed the beneficiary. It's her account. Now I got a nephew who's a couple of months old. He about to get an account. Here's another idea. This is not for college planning, but if you want to set your kids up for greatness, add the kid as an authorized user to one of your credit cards. So I've also done that for my niece. My nephew, once I get his social, he's getting added. So when he's 18, and when my niece is 18, they will have years and years of incredible history. So they can probably go get a loan on their own. If they got a job and they go to apply for a loan or whatever it is, they will probably get approved because they have a substantial amount of history. This is how you create generational wealth. Most people are so in the hole for student loans that they never really will be able to dig themselves out until they're like in their mid 30s or early 40s. And I'm being generous there. Some people will never get out. And I had a client who was in their 60s and she was like, I still got this student loan. And I was like, my God, like, why? But that tells me you never had a plan or a strategy to pay that back, or you didn't pursue opportunities or jobs that were going to pay you a lot more. But this student loan thing bothers me to the core. And if parents and families talked more about financial planning for the kids, then the kids will have a lot more options. It hurts my heart to hear parents say, my kid couldn't go to that school because we couldn't afford it. And I've heard that story at least 30 different times. And I just watched the parent tell me this. It's sad. It's sad to watch them tell that story. And all I do is say, do you think you could have done anything different? And they always say, yep, I could have started early. It's really simple to me. It's just, we love our kids. We love our family. And as you think about how do you really help pay it forward, if you're good and you're set in life, maybe you start trying to help some of these kids in your family, ensuring that they won't have debt when they come out of school with that degree. Because again, I want the kid to go to school and do something they love, not I have to major in this so I can make money to pay back my loan. I think that's the difference between poor and wealthy communities, is that certain kids go to school and they actually enjoy college. They're not working. They're like, really entrenched in their specialty. And maybe it's not going to pay a lot, but they're not going to come out of school with all this debt. So they're not forced to have to do something they might not love. And to this day, I talk to people who have jobs they hate, but the jobs pay so well because they got that student loan. So I know we got a couple minutes and I'm going to skip down. So here's the last slide I really started to share. Actually, shout out to Tiffany, because this slide was created because I was saying this a lot about you needing a team. And so it became a part of this 15-minute plan presentation and webinar workshop. And as NECA and I were talking about earlier, you just got to have a team of people. I don't do this by myself, y'all. I have all these people on my team, and I'm willing to make that investment. And if we stop thinking about it, again, it's the mindset. We don't think about this as a cost, right? I'm not a consumer. I'm investing in me. In my Mr. Bill Wealth is investing in Mr. Bill Wealth strategy so he can achieve financial peace of mind. He can't do it all by himself. I can read like everybody else, but I don't have time. So my time is spent on investing in a professional that does whatever it is you need all day long. And just be courageous enough to know that you can afford it and it's going to be worth every dollar you spend if you find the right person to include on your team. And some people may wear multiple hats. So don't feel like, oh, I can't get everything here. That's okay. Some people can dabble in both. Like, I'm a financial advisor, but I know a little bit about investments. I know a little bit about, insurance. But again, depending on what you're trying to do, you may need 5 insurance professionals, right? You may need multiple types of, I have like 3 different attorneys I work with, and they're worth every penny because they keep me out of trouble. They keep me looking good. Taxes, more than happy to pay my CPA every year. It's great. Thank you. It's like, I don't think twice about making that financial commitment to building the team. So I'm gonna come back in. We'll get back to family style, but I hope this was helpful. Here's what I hope after every time I do these sessions, that you take something from the session and then like act on it. And I mean like before the weekend's over, not like I'm gonna wait till next week or after do it now. It's the weekend. Look, people, here's the COVID excuse. You ain't going nowhere. So we all at the house and you still say you don't have time? Yo, man, people are funny. Oh, I'm too busy. You busy cleaning your room for the 35th time in a week? I mean, we gotta stop with these silly excuses of why we can't do this financial planning. I just spent less than 10 minutes asking you a few questions. And if you don't have really good answers to those, I suspect you go find them. You don't need to call me right away. Because if you ain't ready, don't waste my time or yours. We are all professionals, right? We all want to get to the promised land, whatever the promised land looks like for you. But just be honest with yourself. Are you ready for this life? Because once you start, it does not stop. But if you don't have the plan, let me help you figure out the plan, or you take some time to figure it out for yourself. And then when you get to that roadblock or that obstacle, that's when you're going to need your team. You're going to need that team. You're going to need that person or multiple people to come in and say, okay, you got to this point. Now, how do we get you to that next point? How do we get to that next point? Like, the planning never stops. And I think that's the challenging part around this, is that all of our financial plans will be a work in progress until our last day. And when that last day comes, I don't know when mine's coming, but I don't want to leave my family with a headache or a bill. And I think as long as we're here on this earth, we should be taking the time to really think about what happens when I'm not here. It's not a comfortable conversation for a lot of our families, but my family's been very honest and open about having that, because I don't want to have to try to figure stuff out if I can't talk to you. So let's take the time that we do have to figure out this game plan. And so when that day comes, we're prepared. So many families can't grieve accordingly because they're worried about the finances. But if the money is there and the assets are there, you can grieve as long as you want. And then when you're ready to go back into the world, you can do that because somebody cared enough about you to have a plan. I don't plan on leaving my family this headache. There's going to be a boatload of money and I'm gonna have some written instructions. Here's what you're gonna do. And you have to follow it because I wrote it out. but let's leave it better than maybe you had it. And I hear this a lot too. Well, I'm not leaving my kids anything because I want them to understand like the value of hard work. And I'm like, okay, so you want your kid to go through the exact same struggle? How is that helpful? My parents grew up poor. I didn't. And thank the Lord, because I didn't like hearing those stories. It ain't nothing exciting about we ain't had nothing to eat. You know, the heat went out during the winter. Like, that doesn't excite me. Where is the fun in that? My parents left the hood and said, we ain't never going back. But what we will do is do everything we can to give our kids everything we couldn't have to the best of our ability. I still got questions on some of the things they did for us. But, you know, I got lucky that I was the third kid. So they messed up on my sister, messed up on my brother, and then I came out perfect. Like, that's how it worked out, right? I got lucky. I won the lottery. I came out third. But my parents figured it out like everybody else does. Like, Emu's got his little man right there.
Yep.
He's gonna be a monster. But you know,
he's for sure.
He's getting the game from day one. He don't even know he's getting this game, but he's listening right now. He's gonna say, Daddy, I remember that Mr. Bill Wealth when I was 8 months. I hope. But you know, if they have more kids, it's just now whatever we did do for the first one, let's add it on to the next one. So the reason I had 3 college accounts is because my parents paid for my sister out of pocket. My sister's 49 years old, and they were like, yo, first of all, let's stop having kids. You know, let's stop stacking them because they were poor. Let's stop having kids for a little while. So there's a 10-year gap between my sister and my brother, and then there's me 4 years later.
Jasper, this was really wonderful. You know, I've met with financial planners. I think the nice thing about what you've done is you condensed it down to a very short form with some key questions to get started. Obviously, you're not going to save the whole world in 15 minutes, but you have a very clear plan on how to get started. And I think that's wonderful for everybody.